Peter Greenberg's live global travel update is presented to you by Colette. Discover the world. Guided travel since 1918.
Allora, per il gruppo italiano, ok, ci troviamo ai giardini.
Hello, everybody. Peter Greenberg here with our weekly global travel update for the last Tuesday of April 2025, coming to you from the Iniala Hotel, a luxury boutique hotel right here in Malta, overlooking one of the most incredible natural harbors in the world in Valletta. And of course, you can always just scroll down and answer or maybe even ask a few questions tonight, and we'll help you out. Lots of stuff to talk about this week, and it's only Tuesday. I'm going to show you, we're going to start with some numbers, and I'm going to show you a chart that basically says it all. Take a look. Take a look at this. This is only in the last 6 weeks. Every indicator down, subterranean, if you will. And according to, Goldman Sachs, they're projecting that if this sustains itself for the next quarter, the revenue losses for U.S. businesses that are travel related, are you ready? $90 billion. That's not just airlines and hotels. That's restaurants, that's retail, that's theme parks, that's rental cars, that's clothing. It's anything related to travel or people spending money when they travel. And that's revenue nobody gets to recoup. That's just gone. We're seeing, again, the numbers continuing to drop on international routes to the United States as more and more foreigners make a substantially conscious decision not to come to the U.S. this year. We're also seeing reticence on the part of U.S. travelers to leave America this year. As a result, we're seeing airfares for the moment going up on domestic flights, coming down on international flights. Now, will that stabilize? To a certain extent, it will. Travel tends to be somewhat resilient, and the airlines can pivot faster than anybody because they can literally move their assets. What does that mean? They're not going to necessarily cancel routes, although some airlines have. They're going to basically put smaller aircraft on those routes. And by downsizing the aircraft, they're lowering the capacity. By lowering the capacity, you may have more people flying within those smaller aircraft, meaning fewer seats, law of supply and demand kicks in. You know what that means? Higher airfares. But for the next 2 weeks at least, until the airlines finally adjust to all this, and believe me, they know it, they see it on their own reservations, projections, it's still a buyer's market for international travel. But what it also means is, when somebody says, I'm not going to come to the US this summer, that doesn't mean they're staying home. It means they've made other plans to go elsewhere. And if somebody in the U.S. is saying, I'm not going to go overseas this summer, it doesn't mean they're not going to travel. It means they're going to travel within the continental U.S. And as long as gas prices don't spike, that's what you're going to see. So airfares and hotel rates in the U.S. have nowhere to go but up. International airfares are now down, but will stabilize a little bit higher than that, but not stratospheric like they were last year, as airlines try to reassess the situation. I don't know of an airline now in the last 2 weeks that hasn't slashed their quarterly revenue projections by at least 50%. And that's being kind. We're seeing that big a drop. And there are some communities that think, hey, if we just drop the occupancy tax, hotel rates will come down and people will now come. When you're dealing with fear, the worst 4-letter word that starts with F when it comes to travel, and people perceiving America as being unwelcoming, you can't discount your way out of that. They're just not going to come this summer. That's how emotional the reaction has been. So fasten your seatbelts on that. Speaking of fastening your seatbelts, the deadline for Real ID is May 7th. It's coming up. It's a week from tomorrow. And what that means officially is that if you don't have Real ID on your license, on your driver's license, means you got to go to your local DMV in your state and show them additional information and documentation. They'll put a little gold star on the upper right-hand corner of your driver's license, which the TSA will then accept as an acceptable form of valid and verified identification. Now, right now, about 82% of Americans have it. 18% haven't gotten around to doing it yet. If you're part of that 18%, does that mean you can't fly after May 7th? No, it doesn't, because the TSA is sort of phasing this in. But what it does mean is, if you show up to TSA after May 7th and you don't have that gold star on your license, you're going to be subjected to secondary and tertiary screening, a lot more questions asked before they'll let you go through security, which means you better get there even earlier or you could miss your flight. Now, the one exception to all this is if you're already holding a valid US passport, you already have real ID. You don't have to go to all those dance routines at the DMV. Don't need it. Just carry your passport, even on domestic flights, and you'll be okay. Now, speaking of okay on flights, let me tell you how I got to Malta. I came from Rome. It's only a 1.5-hour flight. And because of flight connections, the only one that was available to me that made sense, at least in terms of schedule, was getting on a small 737 operated by Ryanair. Well, guess what? I finally got to experience Ryanair. And friends don't let friends fly Ryanair. It's if they were telling the truth in their marketing campaign, it would simply be this: we're not happy until you're not happy. And they were very happy with me the other day because I was very unhappy with them. So knowing that they charge you for everything short of breathing, I just didn't make a reservation for the seat on the plane. I paid extra for being priority on the plane and getting 2 checked bags as part of that package, and priority through security and first boarding. So far, so good. Except when I got to the check-in counter in Rome. You have to weigh your bags. And one of my bags was 1.2 kilograms overweight. That's about 3 pounds. And all sorts of alarms go off, and it will not issue a baggage tag. So I took the weight out, put it in my carry-on bag. Now, they check my bags in. By the way, this took 40 minutes because they had 9 counter spots for check-in and only 1 agent and nobody to talk to. But now I check in the 2 bags, and then I get to the gate. Now, here's the interesting thing. Before I ever got to the gate, here were my bags, one of which was over by 3 pounds. The woman next to me weighed about 200 pounds, and her bags came in at 48 pounds, and they had no problem with her. You see where I'm going? And the guy behind her was like 250 pounds. So take a look at this. Get the point? Yeah. There is no logic here, except to understand that what Ryanair does is they're just trying to generate additional revenue. So then I get to the gate. Remember, I've already paid for priority bags for under 50 pounds each. I get to the gate and they have a sizer out there, this sort of hard iron sizing machine that's draconian. And I know my bags are carry-on bags. I know they fit in the overhead compartment. There's no problem. I put my bag in the sizer. It fits perfectly, but the handle obviously is sticking out by about 1/2 inch. I'm sorry, it doesn't fit the sizer. My wife did it with her bag. We've been doing it as carry-on bags for years. Nope, her handle stuck out. They charged us 140 euros for 2 carry-on bags that then had to be checked. And they were doing this to everybody. So unless you're a member of the Witness Relocation Program or a fugitive from justice, which I then presume means you're flying very light, you might want to avoid Ryanair. All right. So much for no logic, unless you want to just generate revenue, which is exactly what they do. Okay. Now, speaking of bags, I will share with you the bad joke of the week. Put it up there, Anthony. There it is. I showed the damaged remains of my luggage to my lawyer and said, I want to sue the airline. His response, you don't have much of a case. All right. All right. That's the only laugh you're going to get today. Throw it out. Anyway, now let's get to some more serious stuff. I may have mentioned this last week, but it bears repeating. Hertz is installing in 100 of their major gateway city locations, mostly at the airports around the United States, this. They're using AI, sort of like an MRI for your car, to inspect airport rental returns. So every car that comes back in goes through this tube, and it can detect every ding, scratch, dent, crack, not just on the exterior, but on the interior of the car as well, and even other working parts, whether it's exhaust, engine, tire tread wear, you name it. And then you get dinged with a big repair bill. So this is what you got to do. Even before the installation of these machines, every time you get to an airport to rent a car, they give you the contract, they give you the keys, you get out to the lot. Before you put the key in the ignition and drive off the lot, get your cell phone camera out. Do your own inspection over every surface area of the car. Make sure it's time coded and take pictures. Same thing on the interior of the car. And if you notice any dents, scratches, bumps, paint deterioration, you name it, go back to the counter. I know you don't want to, but you got to. Get the agent to note the damage on the rental car contract on all copies. So when you drive off the lot and a couple of days later you return the car, you're not subsequently charged humongous amounts of money for repair bills for damage you didn't do. Now, if Hertz was really being honest, they wouldn't just drive your car through that machine when you return the car. They would let you drive the car through the machine before you left the lot, when you rented the car. That way, everybody knows what they're dealing with. So let's see what happens on that. Okay, let's say hello to some people here. We'll scroll up. Jim and Harriet, always numero uno from Richmond, Virginia. Jean saying hi from Tulsa. Sue saying hi from Bellingham. Judy saying hello from Scottsdale, going to Japan next month. How do I survive a 12-hour flight in economy? Have you heard of Netflix, Amazon, Apple TV Plus, YouTube? Start downloading your favorite shows and series. It's time for the binge watch. Drink plenty of water, no alcohol. Forget airline food. Bring your own fruits. Make sure you consume them before you land. And you know what? If you feel like sleeping, you sleep. If you feel like working, you work. If you feel like watching TV and binge watching, do that. The key is, here's how you survive the flight. It's what you do when you land that makes the difference. No matter what time you land, wherever you're going, you must stay up until midnight local time. That means no lunch, no snacking, no napping. Go for a walk, do whatever you need to do to stay up. Go up to midnight, go to bed, you will cycle. And do the exact same thing on the reverse on your return. All right. Camilla's still in Tucson. Hello, Camilla. Okay. Tisha's saying hello from Holly Springs, Georgia. We're packing to travel to Italy a few days from now. Congratulations. You're going before the crazy rush. By the way, when I was talking about international travel being down, obviously for the last 10 days, numero uno destination in the world was Rome. Everybody coming for the Pope's funeral and the beginning of the conclave, which starts, I believe, May 7th. All right. ML, Mary Louise is saying hi from Tempe. Always lovely to hear from you. Scott saying hello from a sunny downtown Chicago. Your chart looks like my latest 401 statement. Yeah, well, I get it. Sadly, I get it. Debbie saying hello from Boynton Beach. Randy saying greetings from Ann Arbor. Question. I have seen reports of major changes to TSA rules. Are there significant changes? Not that I'm aware of. The only thing that's happening is the Real ID, which I just talked about, and they're going to more and more biometric ID, which is great because it shortens the wait time between passengers to go through security. Mr. Cooney says hello. And Deb saying hi from New Jersey. Randy says, oh, I see, changing the rules. I mean, other than a star on the driver's license. Yeah, they're doing digital check-in now at the TSA. Check it out. That also speeds up the process. Okay. Geraldine saying hi from Chicago. Judy says, does the Hertz machine give you a free MRA? No. Yeah, no. Melanie Wood says, hello from Miami. Matthew saying, greetings from Syracuse. Red saying, watching from Omaha. Another power outage news out of Spain. Yeah, they knocked out the power grid yesterday. Chaos at the airports. Not to mention traffic lights also went out on the roads. But as Red wisely notes, this time the airports had backup generators. Let's hear it for common sense. Gina saying hi from San Diego. Alexander saying hello from sunny Switzerland. Gary saying a dent in a rental car is a recurring source of revenue for the company. Right. Who knows if they charge 18 different renters for the same repair bill? That's why you need evidence before you ever leave the lot. Okay. Levidius on the warpath says, hi from Fort Lauderdale regarding the rental car companies. They have truly become a criminal enterprise. Well, I wouldn't go that far. But you know what? The airlines, the hotels, and the rental car companies that have embraced a CFO mentality, what are they doing? They're looking for every single way to generate revenue, sometimes at the expense of clarity, transparency, or common sense. Now, if you want to call that a criminal enterprise, well, it might meet the definition, but again, you have responsibilities too to force them to come to a mutually agreeable definition of terms, that nobody's confused about what you're doing. Jeff saying hi from Santa Monica. Oh, and Gina says, and the Jubilee year in Rome. Okay. All right, we'll scroll back down for a second. And we're doing pretty well. By the way, our next episode of The Travel Detective is now on PBS and streaming on Amazon, Apple TV, and later next month on YouTube as well. Here's the tease. This week on The Travel Detective, we'll tell you how one cruise line is working to become more sustainable and promoting environmental responsibility by reducing emissions, decreasing waste, and using alternative fuels. Plus, hold your breath, we run down America's worst cities when it comes to air quality. And then, it's one of the 7 natural wonders of the world, but I'm going to show you a different way to experience it, from above and below. I share with you my hidden gems of the Grand Canyon. I'm Peter Greenberg. All this and more on the next edition of The Travel Detective on PBS. Check your local listing. By the way, speaking of PBS, our latest episode of a piece that we just did on the latest incarnation of the Orient Express. You know, there have been so many different versions of the train. Thank you, Agatha Christie. But now there's a new one in Italy called La Dolce Vita. And right now it's going between Rome and Sicily. But so it should be up there on the screen momentarily on that. The Dolce Vita just started rolling about 10 days ago. All right. Now, let's go back to some of the questions you guys have asked. Let me find them. Here they are. Diane says, I'm looking at going to Malta in October. When is the best time to book my flight? You can do it now. It'll be fine. And October is not a busy month. September is the magic month, by the way, in the Mediterranean. If you can possibly get here, then great. But October, just as good. And remember, Malta, there's more than one island, right? There's also Camino and Gozo. We shot on all 3 for our special. And believe me, each has its own character, style, pace, vibe, but all very much worth it. And check that out. Okay. Rachel saying, you mentioned that destinations like Greece, Thailand, and Argentina offer great value due to recent economic shifts. I don't think I mentioned Greece. Thailand and Argentina, I did. Are there other countries that travelers should consider using for the similar reasons? Yes, of course. Turkey, South Africa. This is where the US dollar is strong. And believe it or not, Japan, where the yen continues to be weaker against the US dollar. But in Japan, a word of caution, because that secret came out last year, and Japan could be overcrowded this summer. Not with US travelers, but with travelers from the region. So just be aware of that. All right, Mike says, can I share tips on how to find authentic local experiences without falling into tourist traps, especially in Rome and Barcelona? Yeah, I can. Talk to the people who never get talked to at hotels. No, not the concierge, not the doorman, not the front desk, not the general manager, the maids. Ask them the coolest places in the neighborhoods where they live. You'll have a great time. No brochures, no guidebooks, real. Real. Can't beat that. All right. Joel, what happened to New York City congestion pricing? It's still being applied. In fact, as of this morning, it was announced that in the few short weeks it's been going on, the city has raised $160 million. Pretty wild, right? Still going on. Okay. Lila says, do I think Greece will be the most overcrowded tourist destination this summer? It'll be one of them. You couldn't pay me to go to Athens in the summer, or Santorini, or Mykonos. May, parts of June, great. September, October, fabulous. The rest of June, July, and August, don't do it. Don't do it. We talked about this a couple of months ago, that last summer in Athens, 30,000 tourists a day attempted to climb the Acropolis in 100-degree plus weather. That wasn't over tourism, that was a medical issue, right? So what was the Greek government's solution to this? They're going to limit it now to 20,000 people a day. That is not the solution. So there you have it. All right. Oh, I almost forgot. It's time for the photo of the week. This goes to Bill Emmond. And where was this taken? You got to love the contrast here and the lights. It was the great Reno balloon race. And there you go. And nicely done, by the way. Love that photo. And if you think yours qualifies as the photo of the week, like Bill did from Reno, go ahead. Send it to us. Photo contest at petergreenberg.com. And we will put it right up there along with Bill's. Congratulations to Bill. Okay. What place can you go to in South Africa with the least amount of flying time leaving from JFK? Well, can I cheat a little bit? Leave from Newark on United. They've got a nonstop to Cape Town. That's the one you want. All right. Safe says, how do you see the U.S. visa processing delays or international political tensions playing a role in the decline of foreign inbound travel? It all plays a role. If the U.S. is being perceived, as we hear it is being perceived by so many people as being unwelcoming, and the visa wait times at certain countries being absurd to begin with, over 400 days, that's a year and a half, just about. Why would you even want to come to the U.S.? Right? So there you have it. Gary says, what is the number one thing not to miss in Switzerland? Fondue. No, kidding. Watches. Chocolate. No, kidding and kidding. What I love about Switzerland is to go to Lucerne, get on one of those turn-of-the-century steamers out on the lake that stops in all these little towns up and down the lake, and make a day of it. To me, it's magical to do that. And it's like a little ferry system, right? Hop on, wait for another one, hop off, hop on. But the boats are majestic. They've got such great character. And the towns are not tourist towns. It's like just residential areas happen to be on the lake and gorgeous. So that would be my my deal. Okay on that. All right. Pat says we recently rented a car from Sixt in France. At pickup, they gave me a long itemized sheet of every ding and scratch on the car. The agent went over every one. I still took photos, but it was certainly a novel experience. And you know what? 3 cheers to Sixt for doing that, for being proactive and letting you know, here's what you're renting, and here's what we're not going to charge you for because we saw it. All right, thanks for sharing that. Okay, keep going here. Here we go. I'm looking. All right, now, last but not least, a couple of housekeeping notes. I'm in Malta today, flying back to the U.S. In a day and a half. Our radio show this week coming from the Four Seasons in Miami, in Florida. So I hope you'll join us on Saturday. That's 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Time. It also lives as a live stream and as a podcast. And then next week, our global travel update will be from another undisclosed location somewhere in the world. We'll be traveling again, so I hope you'll join us then. And then last but not least, we will obviously be updating as often as we can the roller coaster reactions to tariffs, trade wars, airfares, and fear, because that's not going anywhere anytime soon. I want to thank Anthony, who's here with us in Malta, for doing the actual engineering of this show here. And of course, I want to thank you for watching. Again, Travel Detective, the next episode is on the air now on PBS. And later this year in the fall, you'll see the premiere of, guess what? Hidden Malta, which is what we're doing here right now. Thanks for joining us, everybody. And I'll see you next week on the radio and back on Global Travel Update.
Peter Greenberg's live global travel update is presented to you by Colette. Discover the world. Guided travel since 1918.